Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Jett's Diary. I'm Jett and I'm here to share about my journey as a gay Christian growing up in a relatively conservative environment. In this episode of Jett's Diary, I want to continue reflecting on my mental health journey over the past year, specifically around being a highly sensitive person or known as HSP. Has anyone ever told you that you're too sensitive? Or have you ever felt that way about yourself? Growing up, I played the piano at church. I noticed early on that I was quite different from the other kids. Out of 6 pianists, I was the only one without formal piano training. The rest were at least grade 7 and above. Technically, they were far more advanced than I was, but emotionally something felt missing. They played strictly according to the score, while I played according to what I felt in the moment. That was probably the first time I realized how sensitive I was to the atmosphere around me. I played the keyboard for churches well into my 30s. Whenever I served on a piano or keyboard in worship or prayer ministry, I was given the nickname Spirit Fingers. And I want to be very clear here. It isn't about boasting. I'm not a great pianist. I'm not formally trained, and my technique is very basic. But what that nickname reflected was this: I'm deeply sensitive. And that sensitivity doesn't show up in just one area of my life. It shows up everywhere. I'm sensitive to sound, light, pain, noise, taste, emotions, pretty much anything related to sensory input and the nervous system. One day during a work retreat early last year, our youth director was sharing a message on stage. I work in a Christian organization, so retreats, prayer meetings, and worship gatherings are very normal in our workspace. He was preaching a great message, very passionate, very energetic. But about 10 minutes in, my body started reacting, and not in a good way. I felt my internal world was caving in. My eyes felt heavy, my heart felt like it was struggling to do its job. So I quietly left the room and stood in the lobby outside of the hall, trying to understand what had just happened to me. This happened about a year ago, and I've come a long way since then. Standing there in the lobby, I typed all of my symptoms into ChatGPT. The result surprised me. It suggested that I might be a highly sensitive person. Honestly, I thought the term sounded ridiculous. I didn't want to be labeled as sensitive. But as I read through the description, I resonated with almost everything. It also recommended a book by Elaine Aron, the psychologist who coined the term HSP, or highly sensitive person. I was hooked and immediately bought the book. According to Elaine Aron, a highly sensitive person has an innate trait called sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS. It's a biologically based temperament found in about 10 to 20% of the population. She summarizes the HSP trait using the DOES framework. D stands for depth of processing. HSPs process information deeply. We reflect, analyze, and connect ideas before acting. This often leads to insight, creativity, and thoughtful decision-making, but also to overthinking. O is for overstimulation. Because we take in so much information, we can become overstimulated more easily by noise, crowds, time pressure, or multitasking. E is for emotional reactivity and empathy. HSPs feel emotions more intensely, both positive and negative, and are often highly empathetic, easily picking up on others' mood. S is for sensitivity to subtleties. We notice details others miss: tone of voice, lighting, textures, social dynamics, and small environmental changes. Many highly sensitive people grow up feeling like something is wrong with them. I've lost count of how many times I've asked myself, why can't I just be normal? But learning more about HSP helped me realize that it's not a disorder, it's not shyness, and it's not the same as introversion. In fact, Elaine Aron's research found that about 30% of HSPs are extroverts. One of Elaine's core ideas is this: highly sensitive people are not weak. Their nervous systems are simply more finely tuned. I find that incredibly empowering, but it also requires a mindset shift, especially if you've spent years criticizing yourself for being this way. Since starting counseling, one tool I've intentionally practiced is self-affirmation. I even created phone wallpapers with affirmations that remind me of my strengths as an HSP. Some of them say, "I bring calm, not chaos. That's leadership. My intuition is valid. My insights are needed." Another says, "Sensitivity is not a flaw. It's my inner intelligence." Another said, "I'm a highly sensitive person. It's a strength, a gift, and a way of deeply experiencing the world." Another said, "I do not need to toughen up to be enough. I do not need to shrink to make others comfortable." And another said, "I was made to bring light, depth, and discernment into the world." And another said, "My empathy is powerful. My intuition is sharp." I hold a senior leadership position at work. When people think of leaders, they often imagine someone loud, bold, and charismatic. And those personalities absolutely have their place. But I've learned that highly sensitive leaders bring something different. We sense the atmosphere the moment we walk into a room. We notice emotions people haven't expressed. We read social cues deeply. We connect unspoken dots and see the bigger picture. In earlier episodes, I talked about how certain teams I worked with emotionally crippled me. I now understand that a bigger reason was my lack of boundaries as an HSP. I kept telling myself I wasn't suited for leadership, even though people above me kept encouraging me not to give up. Deep down, I wanted to say, "Can't you see how unsuitable I am for this?" Counseling, combined with my own reading, helped me to see things differently. It helped me understand how I'm wired, how I function best, and what I need to thrive. And that means creating an environment and structure that supports my personality, my traits, and my gifting. In the next episode, I'll talk more about the tools my counselor recommended. For now, I want to share a few daily practices that help me manage myself as a highly sensitive person. Once we accept that HSP isn't a flaw but a strength, the question becomes, how do we create boundaries and structures that allow us to thrive? Here are some things that worked for me. The first one is earplugs. I carry around a set of earplugs wherever I go. There are plenty of options in the market, but I personally use loop earplugs. I have 3 versions of them. The first I got was loop quiet, to be used when I sleep. I travel a lot and oftentimes stay in hostels where it can be quite noisy with people constantly moving about. But these earplugs have been a lifesaver. My sleep quality increased, and that resulted in better mood throughout the next day. And since I had great experience with this, I got the loop engage version to be used outdoors. It filters background noise by 16 decibels, allowing me to still be able to engage in conversations and aware of my surroundings. In comparison, loop quiet filters background noise up to 24 decibels. I've had them for about 5 years, and last year I decided to upgrade my sleep earplugs to their new Loop Dream, which adds another 3 decibels, making it 27 decibels of noise filtering. I sleep through Yonder snoring, and it was life-changing. Next is managing my schedule. As a person that gets overstimulated easily, whether by overwhelming tasks or work tensions or information overload, I try to schedule a 15-minute break between things, especially work meetings. I never go back to back. I work with people who schedule meetings back to back for 7 hours straight and often end up racing with time to get to the next one. That's not how I'm wired. I bring quality to the meeting when I'm emotionally regulated and had the chance to think through the things that I want to contribute. I bring impact and depth. Next is me time. Quite close to managing my schedule is to set apart me time. I know this can be quite hard for some people, especially when they have kids or juggling with many demands. But if you're an HSP, this is especially important. If you do not have time to recover from sensory overload, setting apart time for yourself to live in your heart, to dream, to imagine, to regulate, you're running on fumes. Sooner or later, you'll be experiencing an underlying depression, or known as functioning depression, which means a person is still functioning and able to do everything they need to do, but with lack of motivation, interest, and energy. I didn't know I was in this state until 4 years of self-torture, working in an environment that is always on the go and lack the understanding that this structure does not help me to live out the best in me. I still perform well though. I still get stuff done, but I hit the ceiling and went from a star employee to merely just surviving. This doesn't just apply to workplace, as I experienced this in my relationship as well. Yonder and I come to learn that I need a lot more me time than he does, and he respects that. When I get my time to recharge myself, I become a better partner and have more time to give into the relationship. Next on my list is journaling. I don't know about other HSPs, but for me, sometimes the world becomes so overstimulating that I don't even know what I'm feeling anymore. I don't know why I'm triggered or able to put clarity into the emotions I'm going through, or lack of. Journaling helps me to crystallize it. It helps me to put into perspective the context of a situation, the root cause of my triggers, and allowed me to separate truth from feelings. I don't journal as much as I would love to, but I notice the period when I do, maybe once every 2 days, I was at my best headspace. These are just a few of the tools I use to align myself with the world as a highly sensitive person. If you have tools that work for you, I'd love to hear them. If you've been listening up to this point, I'm a gay Christian working for a global Christian charity. Yonder and Jett exist to connect gay Christians and a wider Christian community around the world. My hope is that through this space, we can journey together as we anchor ourselves in God through the endeavor of our faith. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need it and subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode where I'll talk more about self-regulation tools I've learned through counseling in my mental health journey. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.